Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Yet to Be Named podcast. So, if you've been coming to the last few weeks, you know that I have a little bit of a conundrum in that I have a massive vision for this live show slash podcast. I just haven't figured out what the name is yet. So, if you want to brainstorm with me, drop in any ideas. We would love, love, love to have them. So as you guys are coming in, though, give me a quick shout out. Where in the world are you right now? I was just talking to our guest, and we were talking about being in rural places. So I am in rural Virginia. It is a lovely sunny day here so far this morning. A little chilly, but still a beautiful day. So again, as you guys are coming in, just like give me a shout out. Where in the world are you? As always, like we love, love, love questions. So I have questions of our special guest today, but I am not the only one who has questions. You guys are going to have some questions, and I want to make sure that you have a place for those. So please ask away as we go, and we'll try to pull those in as we go, or certainly we'll make sure we get them answered if we don't get to them while we're live. Okay. So ask your questions. We definitely want to hear from you. And if you know somebody that this would benefit, feel free to sprinkle this out into the world. Hit that S button, or tag someone down under, and let's get as many people in here as we can. All right. So today we have an amazing special guest, and I want to just let you know how excited I am, honestly, that she said yes to coming on the podcast. I have admired her from afar for a while. She's super sharp, and I'm just excited that she, like I said, that she said yes, and that you guys have an opportunity to kind of I don't know, pick her brain, but be a part of the vision that she is driving right now. So let me give you a little bit more detail about her, and then we'll bring her in and we'll start like finding out some of her secret sauce. Okay. So Kathy Roberts is our special guest today. She is the CEO of Switch Reward Card, and it's a blockchain finance ecosystem. We're going to talk about what that means to those of us who may not know so much about blockchain. In addition to being the CEO of Switch Reward Card, she is also a node owner and a community member of the Switch blockchain. That we'll talk about what that means a little bit more too. She is also the former president of Discover Bank Card, y'all. So, many of you may have Discover cards. I don't currently have one, but I had one back in the day. So we're familiar, obviously, with Discover Card. She is the first woman to chair the Delaware Bankers Association. Huge kudos there, right? And then a current member of the Salt Lake Chamber's Board of Governors. She does a ton of philanthropic work. So, guys, I want you to welcome Kathy to the show. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate being here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I am so excited that you're here. So I know that obviously everyone's still coming in, and I wanted to give a little bit more, like maybe the backstory a little bit around how you got started, maybe specifically in the finance space. Like, what does that look like? How did you get? Like, I know you were the president of Discover Card, but like that didn't just land in your lap, right? Like, what's the backstory of how you got into the finance space? Oh, wait.
Sure, yes. I was the president of Discover Bank, and there were two presidential titles. I was never president of the entire card, but the bank was a $54 billion portfolio when I was president of the bank in Delaware. And no, nothing just drops in your lap. A lot of people think, there's an overnight success, and overnight sometimes takes 20, 30 years. But as a teenager, I went to work at Sears Roebuck and Company, which some of your listeners may not even know what Sears is, but that company became a large conglomerate. And at one point in their diversification, they decided that they would do things that they already did well and burn the match twice, is what we used to call it. And they were probably the third or fourth largest lender in the nation. No one really knew it, but after the car manufacturers, Sears was the next largest lender. And so they thought, why don't we have a Visa or a MasterCard? They had already bought Coldwell Banker, the real estate company. They already owned and created Allstate, which was a large company to insure products. And then they purchased Dean Witter, which is a name that isn't out there anymore. Later on, Morgan Stanley purchased Dean Witter and discarded the Dean Witter name. But in that whole scenario, they thought, let's do a Visa or MasterCard. And when they went to the associations of Visa and MasterCard, there were bylaws against Sears and against American Express. They thought Sears was too large. It was the Walmart of its day, and that it would become a bank and take shares away from the other banks. So they went to Delaware, purchased a bank, and Discover Card was born. When it came along, Sears asked me to go over and help start up this new company. Now, the Discover Card was the first new credit card to enter the market in 23 years. And as we talked a little bit earlier, one of the things they did was the cashback bonus, which at the time was revolutionary. No one had ever done anything like that. And people thought it was silly. The business community thought there's no way you're going to make that work. But they had done their homework. And now it's one of the most copied things there is out there to give something back, cash back, rewards, etc.
Yes. Well, like we said before, I mean, for those of us in the online space and that have online businesses, we're familiar with, I mean, it's not just like Discover Card or cashback from a credit card perspective, but it's airline miles, right? Airline miles is something we all get. We all,
Right.
if we travel to conferences or we do whatever, we know we're going to get rewarded for those things. And I feel like, and we're gonna dig into this whole tokenization a little bit more in a second, as it relates to what that looks like in the future. Keep in mind what something that Kathy just said, y'all. This is, everybody thought this was a crazy idea. Like any new shift in the world, whether it doesn't really matter, sometimes it's in a certain segment of the a certain niche, if you will. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's not going to work until it does. And so that, I think that's something I just really want to key in on, because we're going to see this happening. And what we're talking about today is something that a lot of people said, even as little as 2 years ago, was crazy and would not work and it would never gain traction. And yet it has. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more. Okay. So maybe tell us a little bit about like maybe some memorable moments when it came to going from Sears into the Discover Card space. Like, do you have any like funny stories like from that evolution of going from and building? I know that this obviously the cashback was probably one of those, but just kind of like share something that was maybe funny or unexpected or that you didn't foresee happening.
I think there are lots of wonderful stories and funny stories. Um, in business, a startup is a hard thing to do. And Discover Card was a startup, and it was not the only startup that Sears had. There, when I got to Chicago, I think they gave me 5 different business cards. Discover Card happened to be the one that worked the best and that spun out. Some of the other ones got sold. I think we sold a portfolio to Citibank and had other kinds of ideas behind credit at that time. And as you talked about the rewards, whether it's your Delta miles or whatever, it does change your behaviors. It changes a consumer's behavior on how they utilize your products when it's something that is near and dear to them. And the cashback bonus, as you said, I think it was the Wall Street Journal that said something like Sears is selling dollars for 99 cents. This will never work. And I would get incensed with some of the things that might have been said on the TV or radio or whatever. One was I think it was Good Morning America, and there was something that they talked about Sears in one regard, and it was a negative thing, and Sears didn't come on. And then the next commercial was Allstate. The next commercial was a Discover Card commercial. And I think all of you know marketing cost a ton of money. And I called Joan London from my office in Columbus, Ohio. I didn't tell the company. I called and said, you just had a negative story about a company, and then we spent $200,000, and this was 1989 on commercials right after that on subsidiaries that are associated with that company. And I used my very nicest voice to get through to Joan. She wasn't there, but the reporter who did the interview took my call, and then I laid right into her. I always had that ability to get through to whoever I need to get to. But many times I say that we didn't know that we could not succeed. When they launched us off to do this subsidiary, they said, okay, guys, make money in 3 to 5 years or you don't have a job. Many of us had 15 to 20 years already in it, Sears, because people started their careers so early. And so I never dreamed, and the associates that I was with never dreamed that we couldn't do it. We always dreamed that we did. And we worked like the devil to make sure that that 3 to 5 years happened. And in, I think it was the third year, we made a profit, and the chairman of Sears flew out and met us all. Now, a lot of us had worked for their Sears organization for years and not met him. But he flew out and met all of us because we made that profit in the 3 year time frame that they said.
That is so fascinating. So, just the backstory, y'all, is that not like the coolest thing? One of the things that I really wanted to tug on that you said, and I think we as entrepreneurs need to hear, she never doubted that she could do it. And neither did her team, the people she was working with. So when you have a passion for what you bring to the world, and that, whether it's your business model or how you serve and how you show up, believe in yourself. Like, never doubt that you can do it. I think that's a super big, powerful piece of what I felt. I just heard Kathy say, and so just pulling that back in, and just but I'm loving hearing all this backstory. I love kind of getting the back, like Sears. I mean, I'm going to date myself a lot, but y'all remember the Sears catalog Christmas books? Like, oh my gosh, like I poured over that as a kid. Like, me and my sisters,
I
we
still
would
have
circle.
some of those put away.
Oh, we would circle all the things that we wanted in there. We'd write our names on it. Like, it was a big deal. I wished I still had some of them, but anyway. Okay. So you obviously have this financial background, I'll call it traditional financial background, right? Because that's what many people
Yeah.
associate. You need to put your money somewhere, you put it in the bank. You need to take money out, you go to the bank to get it out. So what inspired the transition, if you will, between what we'll call the transitional financial world, or traditional financial world, and the world of cryptocurrency? What did that look like? What was that journey like for you?
You know, that is a story that is hard to believe, but looking at the technology changes over the last several years, when this project came to me, I tell people the truth. I turned down the project 4 times. I said, this new technology sounds fascinating. Um, I happen to have been associated with the technology founder for some years ago. We did a project together in a public company, and I sat on his board. And I happened to call him for some reason. I can't even remember the reason now. But when I called him, he said, "Hey, Kathy, how you doing? I just stepped off the stage in Davos, Switzerland, and I was giving a speech about this new technology." And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, why did you take my call? But that's the kind of guy he is. He takes your call, even if you haven't talked in a while. And he started to explain this new technology, the wallet systems, and what was going on in the world with Bitcoin and all these other things that had changed since I'd retired. And I thought to myself, well, this is interesting, but I really didn't understand what he was talking about. Didn't understand about Web3, any of that. So if there are listeners that think it's an automatic thing to know all of this, it's an automatic thing to research it all, because that's what I did. And every time he would call me, he said, "Can you help me with this project? I need to put a card at the end of the stream of this." And I would say, "Get a young guy. I don't know what you're talking about." And then one day, he said, "Here, Kathy, you've got your wallet set up." He showed me how to attach it to your bank account, etc. He says, "I'm going to send you a Bitcoin." Now, if anybody's following Bitcoin now, you know the value of this. And this was about 2017. And so he sent me that Bitcoin, and I am truly, I have to tell you the truth, Kim, I'm a mercenary. It was worth a lot of money. And I thought, I can figure out this new technology.
Yes,
So that's how this
yes.
got started. And he gave me, yeah, yeah. I took
So
about a year to research everything, look at the competitors, everything before I started.
yeah, well, and we'll dig into that a little bit more, but I want a couple things you said that I really want people to hear. This space, I mean, I've been in the technology space for 33 years, 33 years. Might as well just own it. And I've seen a lot of evolution come, a lot of things come and go. And I was introduced to the whole blockchain space about 7 months ago, and it was like drinking from a water hose. I literally would say that of all the things that I've learned over the years, it's not that it's difficult, it's just such a shift in the way our mentality of the way we view money. And so I want everyone to understand that this whole blockchain cryptocurrency space is not something that is just for techies or whatever. This is an opportunity to totally shift the way you view money and be ahead of the fact that this is not something that's not going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just like in the early days of websites, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh well, I don't need a website. Or social media, like, oh well, if my business isn't on social media, no big deal. Wrong, right? So it's almost like every shift that you've doubted when it comes to this is like, oh well, I don't see it, therefore it's not going to happen. I'm here to tell you, and Kathy's here to tell you, you better smell the coffee
That's right.
now. So I didn't mean to like get on that bandwagon too much, but I also want to encourage you to be open and receptive to this, even though it's going to mess with your mind a little bit. Okay. So let me ask this question. So I know somebody gave you a Bitcoin. Now, just for frame of reference for this, for those of you who may not be familiar with the concept, a Bitcoin is basically a digital coin. And back in when it was gifted to you, it was probably how much, Kathy, initially,
I
the
think it was
value of
like
it?
about $38,000.
Oh, well, maybe
It
today, but like, what was it
Yeah,
then?
no,
Like,
no, no. It was then. It was
oh, then,
$38,000.
oh,
Today it Yeah, today it
to,
would be about 60,000.
yeah, probably a little bit more than that. I
Mhm.
think the last I
Yes.
saw Bitcoin was trading at like 60, 63, 60, something like that.
Yeah.
So the
It's been
point is,
hovering around that.
if somebody gave you, and back in the day when they were first launched, you could get Bitcoins for $1. Can you imagine if you had gotten a Bitcoin for $1? um I'm gonna speculate, but what was that aha moment? Was it that said, I've got to pay attention to this? Was it the fact that you got the Bitcoin?
It was partially the fact that I got the Bitcoin. It actually took me a little bit of time to understand what he was giving me, and what he was trying to recruit me with was, make sure you understand this. And here is how committed he was to the project. He had been one of the largest Bitcoin miners, I think there was probably in North America. But also, what he wanted to do was spread the word and make sure that the utilization of these tools was going to be out there for people. So after I started studying the markets, the final say was that this is going to revolutionize and go around the globe. When you think about traditional banking, I think about excluding things. try to get a credit card, you better have a good credit score. Try to go to the bank, you better be able to go between what, 10 and 5, 9 and 5, whatever the banker's hours. Um, and then when you look at try to get a loan, you better have the right score again or the right collateral. In these markets, what I saw was the technology would probably even the playing field. A girlfriend said to me, I was just in Kenya, and hurry up with your product because I don't like to carry a lot of cash, but I do like to go to these little marketplaces that the people have built themselves. I'd like to have a tool that I could take with me that would be easy and that goes across borders. When you're talking about digital assets, we're talking about borderless. And while I was in Kenya, I think it was a year or so ago, and I was on a mission, like you said, we were drilling water wells, went to one of these marketplaces, and while some of the people that build these, or maybe a young person putting their merchant store together, might not have a great pair of shoes. The average income in the countryside is about $30 a month, $1 a day. But what they do have is one of these. They have a telephone. And the technology can transcend the fact that someone could trade using technology and using these cryptocurrencies. And if they increase their income by $15 a month, can you imagine what that would do for a family? So when I looked at the fact that this may be a bigger equalizer in the world, and it may bring opportunity where opportunity never existed before or was blocked before, I was in. This is going to travel the globe. We're a little bit behind in the United States, but other countries of the world are adopting this very fast. It's the fastest adopted technology ever when you talk about the blockchain.
Yes. And so we were talking about this before we started today, the fact that traditionally the US is leading the charge with new technology. And well, I have my own theories of why it's been like stifled here. Um, but I think probably just because the powers to be, like they're making too much money, keeping too much of our money, essentially, and so I think that's why it's been stifled. But the point is that there, to Kathy's point, there's a lot of countries that have really adopted this, and it and are ahead of us. So whether that will change with the current or the shift in administration, who knows? But anyway, so for those of that are listening that may not understand what blockchain is, like in its simplest terms, like how would you describe it?
I think it's really simpler than we think. And when you think of blockchain, it's a distributed ledger. It's a ledger, and in that ledger, with blockchain, it's immutable. So once something is placed into the blockchain, you have a record of it that you could go back and see again. A lot of the start of the blockchain was peer-to-peer transactions. And so you have all the coding that gives you the stream of numbers that moves these transactions. But you also have transparency, and you can see what transaction happened and the confirmation. So the node technology that you'll hear us talk about is how the blockchain is distributed. It's also decentralized. When you work for a large company like I did, you have centralized computers and you put them in various areas. So if one goes down, it can move to another city or another state or another country if you need it. Decentralized technology gives the opportunity for individuals to participate. And that's what you're participating in when you purchase the node technology or the software for nodes. Decentralized means that community members can participate all around the globe. And you know how hard that would be to take that out? So, for example, you have a fire in one facility, you could take down a whole supercomputer, but we have supercomputing powers in the node technology, and members around the globe are taking bits of their own computers, or they're putting it on VPNs. That would be much harder to knock out than the centralized technology. So when we talk about DeFi, we're talking about decentralization, not centralization. It's very powerful.
And the fascinating part to me when I started learning all this was if I wanted to own a piece of a bank, I wouldn't be able to do that today. I mean, financially, I don't have the buy-in, right? Or even the cash flow to do something like that. And and honestly, I feel like our banking system, I'm just going to say it, is a big Ponzi scheme. Most of the time we don't understand that when we go to get a loan, they don't even have to have that same amount of money that they're loaning us. The way they get that money back is when we continue to feed the process by paying back the loan. That's assuming that we meet all the qualifications that they put in our way, right? So the point is that going back to the bigger issue here is I can't own a piece of that. And most technologies are not accessible to us to benefit financially from. So this is one of the things that I think is fascinating with this whole node ownership being a part of a decentralized community. We have the ability, you, me, Kathy, any of us,
That's right.
anybody can participate. And I feel like I said this to Kathy earlier, I feel like I'm in the garage with Jeff Bezos back in the day, like when he first started Amazon, where we are on the front side of an evolution in technology where we can benefit and financially be rewarded for it or have ownership in it as well. So I know some of this may be like, what is she even talking about?
You hit the nail on the head. No, you hit the nail on the head. And Scott touched, and our social media guy will tell you, he found the article where in the Delaware, being the first woman banker to 10-year-old Delaware Bankers Association. It's a great big article. And down at the bottom is Jeff Bezos on the same page. You can hardly see the picture of him. But when you look at the internet, if you look at, Bank of America, all those things started so long ago. You can buy shares, but it's costly. It's hard to get in. And this technology, we're still in the infancy. So, if you had the chance to have invested in the internet and you look backwards, hindsight is always 2020 when you're looking backwards. So when you're looking forward, that's the harder part. But not being involved in Web3, not being involved in blockchain, not considering AI, in my opinion, even though I'm probably forward of the age of most people that might be thinking about it, in my opinion, is missing out. So that's why I'm involved in the project. That's why when you talked to me and gave the introduction, I'm the CEO of Switch Reward Card. I don't own the token. We don't control the token. The community controls that token. Members of the community, node owners who produce those tokens, and they have a vote in everything that happens.
Which is again just it's for those of us mentality wise, it's a brain screw a little bit, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
The concept of no one owning a company, like or the bank, or in Kathy's situation here where we're talking about Switch Reward Card, she is leading the vision for it, but she does not own it,
I don't
which
own
I
that
think
token.
is such a mind shift for us, when it comes to this technology. So, Kathy, let's talk about this. You talked about kind of what really shifted what your vision and acceptance maybe of the where you guys are going with Switch Reward Card. Much of it being, the ability to use your money wherever you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to have a card that would level the playing field. And I know this, but I want to talk a little bit about the mission behind Switch Reward Card. What if somebody is like, well, what is it? Like, what is it, and why does it matter to me? What would be your response to that?
One of the things that everyone should recognize that is in these crypto markets, you have different types of instruments. Some instruments are what they call initial coin offerings. Then you have your meme coins, and all these different instruments have a different marketing scheme and probably a different meaning to the buyers. With Switch and the ecosystem that we're in, everything has to have an impact. These are impact companies that are trying to solve a problem. Utilization of your crypto has been hard. It continues to be hard. But when we are designing our profile of how you use your crypto, how you change it to fiat, if you want to change it to fiat, how you lay down a card and move your crypto to fiat so you can spend it, all of those things are part of our mission to make it easier for you to use your crypto, easier for you to store it, and keep it safe. One of the things with crypto is you have more responsibilities. I'm not a bank. And at the point that you sign up at switchrewardcard.com, you're going to have the opportunity to open two wallets. They're free to you. One is called a non custodial wallet, and I have no idea what the assets are that you put in there. The other one is called a custodial wallet. And in that custodial wallet, that's where you move things from your non custodial wallet. You may want to exchange it into some other vehicle, USDT or whatever, and put it into your spending wallet or your custodial wallet. That's where we have partners that help us move it to the card, to your bank, through your business, those kinds of things. So we're trying to make that easier. When you look at the ecosystem that we're involved in, every one of these has what we call an impact, whether it's the element group that is helping to ensure that mining is not done by 6-year-old children in whatever country they're in, that they're not raping the land. When you look at Grow, which is looking at improvement for our food supply, which is so critical, and how he's tracking that. All of these have to have an impact. The products need to be the very, very best they can be without regard to the blockchain. And it's not just a pretty picture or a picture of the monkey or whatever. If you're buying artwork, they all have to have an impact and solve a problem.
Which it really attracts me, obviously, too, and knowing that we can actually, it's very hard for one person to make a difference, but collectively, when you get behind something that has the opportunity to change an industry, using technology, it's a powerful thing because together we can do more. So, one of the things that I have been fascinated to learn is how many people are unbankable here in the US, and then how many people worldwide are unbankable. When I say unbankable, for those of you who may not know, I didn't know this. We take things for granted, I think, here in the US. So, like 23%, roughly, I think, is the latest stats I saw. Kathy, you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong. 20+% of US citizens are unbankable, meaning they cannot get a bank account. They cannot put their money in a bank somewhere. They have a hard time getting a credit card. They're just unbankable. But it gets worse. Worldwide, it's over 55. I mean, it's almost 55% of people in the world are unbankable. So I think one of the biggest exciting parts of Switch Reward Card is it makes people bankable. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's a powerful thing. The ability for people who can't do what the traditional banking infrastructure gives us.
And again, that is one of the major reasons that I'm involved in this project. Um, there are a couple of levels. There's unbanked, and then there's underserved is the newest thing that people are saying. So, we talked earlier, you've got to be able to get to the bank. If you're working a job that is, 8 to 6, it's pretty hard to get to the bank. When you talk about banks, you talk about the fees, and the fees to just have your money in the bank. So you've got your money in the bank, and then there's a fee to have it in the bank. You talk about credit cards, and remember, I love the credit card industry. It's hard to get a hotel, it's hard to check in for the airlines without one. But when you look at the fees, if you're not a monthly payer, I could always remember I'd pay off my Discover card, make that cashback bonus, and say, I'm making money. However, that was not the majority. And the way that the bank makes the money is on that interest rate. And you're right, Kim, you hit the nail on the head. The bank borrows that money from the Fed. They don't have to have that money. And then they have their business that then makes the money for them on the loan that you get. So, this potential of leveling the playing field for those that are unbanked, the poor, the underserved in the world is being utilized in this system, in the crypto markets with these instruments. You have places like El Salvador where they adopted Bitcoin as their legal tender. You also have utility and ease of use. I often say, try to get a bundle of cash over $10,000. If that cash is traveling with you outside of the US, you're going to be stopped. But with this instrument, you have a way to carry it, whether it's on your phone, a cold wallet. If you have a lot of things, is always suggestible. The hot wallets that we have on switchrewardcard.com, and then be able to open that wallet and trade later on if you're traveling is key. And when you look at the emerging markets in the world and in the economy, remember, we have been on top of that economy here in the US almost ever since World War II. But now, the countries that are becoming larger because of their populations are going to start taking over some of that space. Who would have ever thought that India, the population, would topple the population of China? They're now the largest population. Who would have ever thought that Nigeria will move from being number 55 on the World Economic Scale to 35 in the next 10 years? So there are game changers out there, and this technology is going to be one of the things that will allow people to move with ease around the globe and to be able to make transactions, whether they are with fiat, real world assets. You'll start seeing tokenization of real world assets like gold, property, real estate transactions. Eventually, I think if you go to, even in Las Vegas, you can go to your Lamborghini dealer and buy with your Bitcoin there. So it
Well,
is a game changer.
it is such a game changer. I was in Denver visiting my son this weekend. I walked into a convenience store, like a 7-Eleven. It wasn't a 7-Eleven, but it was like, just like a convenience store. They had their regular ATM machine and they had a Bitcoin machine. I'm like, and my husband's like, honey,
Yeah.
because he's been one of these that have been resistant. Because again, it's mindset, like, right? It's like we know what we know and we don't know
Yeah.
what we don't know. So my role here is to start to get your wheels spinning and let you understand that this is coming. Going back to, was it Ecuador? What country is
El
it that
Salvador.
El
El
Salvador,
Salvador.
that's right.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But El Salvador, as a country, has
As a
shifted
country.
instead of a US dollar or whatever their whatever it was at on their side, they moved to Bitcoin. And this has been like 2 years ago, and now
About 2 years ago. Mhm.
they are no longer debt reliant, y'all.
Mhm.
So here in the US, we are trillions of dollars in debt. So can you imagine, as a country, not having that hanging over us? Like, it's non-sustainable. At some point, it's going to crash. So uh, and those of us who have an ecosystem that has a way for us to have our money somewhere else in some other form, are going to be ahead of that if something does, heaven forbid, happen, right? I'm
It's
not
like
being
you said
alarmist.
earlier, those of us in the US were born into the dollar, and it's
Mhm.
probably the largest Ponzi scheme there is. We don't want it to fail, but
Right.
it is being chipped away at right now, every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And especially since the Saudis have decided not to necessarily, rejoin the agreement of trading oil requirement of dollars. So it won't happen right away, but we need drastic change in the
Yeah.
next 10 years for that not to happen.
Well, and the fascinating part is things are being put in place for that eventuality. So if you are paying attention, which might pay attention, things are happening that you need to be paying attention to so that you are ahead of this and you have the opportunity to benefit from it versus being on the backside of something that's a catastrophe. One of the things you talked about though, Kathy, that I want to pull on a little bit because I think lots of times, well, this sounds great, but why does this? It goes back to like, give me some real ways that this matters to me. So, like, I'll give you an example for me personally that is frustrating. If I make a sale on a Friday afternoon and I want that the person is trying to get the money to me, right? So even if they do a wire transfer, they have to go to their bank. They have to facilitate that wire transfer. Thankfully, now we can at least do it online in most cases. But the point is that I will not get that money from, even though they initiated on a Friday afternoon, until probably Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week. So I'll just give you the flip example of that is I just had a sale and they wanted to pay in crypto. I was able to get that money in 5 minutes.
That's
Five
right.
minutes.
Yep.
So the reason this matters is the more this becomes commonplace and the more access to crypto that people have, the ability for us as entrepreneurs to have one accept it as a currency, and whether we want to keep it as crypto or we want to, convert it to fiat, which by the way is just USD essentially.
Hmm.
So you understand that that money can be converted and used just like we would normally. One of the things about Switch Reward Card, though, that I want to touch on, all that I said to kind of get to here, sometimes I take the long way around. When it comes to the ability to use the card that I know is rolling out, how will that work? If I wanted to use the Switch Reward Card and go into a store in London, and buy something, like what would that look like? Would I be able to use it just like a normal credit card?
Well, thanks. That is a wonderful question and twofold. Remember, when you're talking about these markets, we're talking about borderless. We're not talking bank hours. Just give the example of when the Ukrainian war started. Overnight, while the banks were closed, $4 million in donations by crypto owners was sent to the Ukraine while the banks were closed. It could not even have happened if these people did not have crypto to donate. And then the country could do what it needs to do with it, whether it's traded or whatever. With the card itself, I'm so excited to tell you that I was on my way to Amsterdam earlier this year, and I had just got my card because we have a prototype and a test for the card. We have the new international card rolling out in about 45 to 60 days. And I loaded my card just as I was getting on the plane, so I had not used it. I get to Amsterdam to this conference, and somebody says to me, "Hey, aren't you Kathy Roberts?" And so I said, "Well, how about I buy you drinks?" Now, I don't drink, but I know that they have credit cards there, and I whip out my card. It was loaded with cash at that point. If you have crypto, remember you're going to move it from your um, non-custodial wallet and exchange it for whatever you want to exchange it for. In this case, it was USD. And then, depending on your geography, you will be eligible for either a MasterCard or a Visa. And in this case, it was a Visa. And having not used the card, I just went over, we bought drinks, I tapped it, and on our way. So it takes a few minutes to exchange your crypto into something else. But comparatively to our competitors, I will say this very proudly. Once you've been through the KYC and all of that, we don't hold on to your money for days to make sure it's you or anything because we've already done our research. Um, I have talked to people who have had money tied up at some of the other services since December, or they've asked a question about something on their card or something on their account. And we have marvelous customer service where I personally and others have experienced it might be months before you get an answer back. And if you're doing a new transaction, it could be days, but we time it. We have a video out there on YouTube and it shows about 7 minutes. I think it's down from that time at this point. Also, with our new provider, we will have a more international product, and they have vendors in all sectors of the globe that will allow different products dependent again on where you are. So you can just lay down that card. You can also wire the money to your bank, all if you so desire, if that's what you want to do. But your options are huge with our product, and we're also less expensive than the others.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the bank to do a wire transfer, or if you go to places like Coinbase, or if you're dealing in the crypto space, you if you want to buy some crypto, like they hold it, like you can't even get it, like after you've bought it, you can't even access it. Nothing irritates me more. Like I had a gal, again, another story, but same exact thing. She wanted to send a wire. She had to go into the bank to sign a release to use her own money. It wasn't like she was using a credit card. It was like one more restriction of trying to get things that are yours. Like, just
Mhm.
let me use my money,
Yeah,
if I want to buy something, let me buy something. I get that there's obviously some fraud things that they're trying to protect us from, but at the end of the day, it's just gotten so cumbersome, I think, to use traditional banking.
and I think
So
we have a mindset that says what's yours is not necessarily yours. Love to take my nieces and nephews through places with the government to show them the Capitol buildings. I can remember touring. I think it was I was in Columbus, Ohio. I lived there for 10 years working at Discover Card, and I said, "Let's go to tour the Capitol building." And as we walked in, I said, "Oh, I'd like to see so and so's." I have a 9-year-old nephew with me, so and so's office. And the person said, "Well, you can't see his office." And I said, "You mean I can't see the office that I paid for as a taxpayer?" And they said, "Why don't you come right on in?" So I think our mindset says, "Oh, the bank owns that money. You own that money.
yeah,
who
yeah.
who are you? What is the bank without a customer?" You know?
Yeah, and I think they forget that sometimes. And
Yeah.
same for, honestly, all of us. Like if you step back from it, without our customers, like what are we? Like, we're
Mhm.
business owners, like entrepreneurs. We're out there trying to serve in some capacity. So, but without a reciprocal relationship, like there's not, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So taking that back into bringing it back into our space, like um, can you share like maybe a story that you have around how Switch Reward Card has made a difference for business owners? I know obviously that's one of the services you guys offer is the ability to accept crypto as a business owner. But like, do you have
Absolutely.
some like real world example that you could share of how it made a difference for someone?
Yeah, we are delighted with our business accounts. We really only launched the business accounts last November. And with that, we have seen a stream of larger transactions than in the individual transactions. And business owners now are predicted to want to accept crypto of some size or term within the next 2 years. Remember, probably over 600 million people own some form of crypto. And business owners are saying, well, should I be shut out of that? Um, and when you look at a transaction with crypto to crypto, as we look at that opportunity, like you just described, there's not an opportunity for a chargeback. It's less expensive than a credit card. So there are many rationales for why businesses want to be able to accept crypto products because they don't want to miss the sale and because it's fast and it's the time frames, etc., go along with that. But ultimately, what Switch Reward Card has done is we have the opportunity for a business to hold and have a business account. And then we can help you accept that crypto product. In helping you accept that crypto product, we have a widget. And then we also can help you trade the products. So if you wanted to trade the product from Bitcoin or Switch or whatever you took in, we'll do that for you. And we have white glove services to help the large holders. We have lots of large holders coming to us with Bitcoin to trade. Businesses will move into that foray over the next few years.
Well, that's one of the things I love about Switch Reward Card is one, the speed, because a lot of people will compare like services, like whether it's Coinbase or whatever, but the fact that you guys are so quick and you can accept multiple cryptocurrencies. One of the things that I wanted to tie back in, we talked about this earlier, and is the difference between, or the correlation maybe between the fact that we all are familiar with certain things, like, right, we're familiar with airline miles, we're familiar with credit card points, but the thing that I'm going to say, and I said this before we got started, and you're like, I think it's going to happen sooner than this. Now that I've been in this space for like learning about 7 months, which is nothing, like a thimbleful. Like I know just a little bit, enough to be dangerous at this point. But one of the things that I'm seeing now that I'm more aware of it is tokenization. Now, tokenization in my brain is basically the same thing. It's like basically the same as airline miles. And it's tokenization is basically crypto that's mined off of a node. Is that is correct, right? Kathy, am I saying that correctly?
Well, tokenization is
Well, technically
probably
not. Yeah.
it's
Okay, go ahead.
it's probably going to be more tokenization of real world assets. So, we talked a little bit about Element earlier, and he encourages people to keep those elements in the ground, whether it's turquoise or gold or silver or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you cannot tokenize it inside the ground. There are real estate projects that will go to tokenization, which will make it easier to participate. Like you say, today it might be hard for you to buy a stock because you don't have enough. I can remember wanting to buy Berkshire when I was young. I couldn't afford it. So I bought the baby Berkshire. But tokenization will take, for example, a real estate project, and then you can buy a percentage of that project on the blockchain, have it tracked there. And then when you're ready, you can also sell it. So tokenization of real world assets, I believe, is on its way and being done right now. And it will make it easier for people to participate in those projects. And then taking a look at the way we use the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, all of that is going to collide.
And be rewarded financially for being a part of that ecosystem, which,
Mm-hmm.
just again thinking it through, like we are going to use certain airlines based on whatever airline
Yeah.
we have the most points with, right? It's going to be the same. So my prediction was that maybe within the next 5 to 10 years, most major brands are going to be on the blockchain and rewarding their customer base through tokenization. So, meaning now that is going to look different, and obviously from depending on the business model, what that would look like. But the ability for us to use those tokens for more products and services, for example, just like we would with our airline miles, like we get our free tickets or whatever. Or in this case, the way the model works is you could also cash those in as those tokens get more valuable and raise in value, so
Yeah.
that you could convert them to crypto and convert them to USD or whatever. So it's just such a fascinating space, and I think that being on the front side of this, one of the things Kathy said is it's coming sooner than that. She and knowing that we as entrepreneurs within 2 years, I mean, we absolutely are going to need to be accepting crypto. I say it sooner than later, because like I'm already getting requests for payments. Can I pay you in crypto? Okay. How many? So, and you may know this. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I saw somewhere that at the beginning of 2024 there was X amount of crypto owners, and between then and now it is like escalated like crazy. Do you have any idea what those numbers are off the top of your head?
I think that number that you're referring to was over somewhere over 425 million people, excuse me, owning crypto, and then it escalated to 580 million people within a number of months. Today, I'm assuming it's close to 700
Yeah.
million people that
the
own
point the
crypto.
Yeah, the point is it's becoming way more mainstream than it has in the past. And I think the ability for us to understand it's bigger than just being able to accept cryptocurrency. It's also to be a part of an ecosystem that could reward you financially or give you a vehicle to opportunity that you might not have had before. So I think it's worth like slowing
And
down to see that more.
remember, the biggest companies in the world now are involved. For a long time, a lot of the financial companies said, "Oh no, we'll never do that." Well, I knew, just like every other project, they had been researching it. They had people in their back rooms. So none of that happened overnight, even though they weren't involved until maybe the ETF came out for Bitcoin and then Ethereum. Now you have the largest companies in the financial markets participating, and you have their clients demanding it. The consumers are demanding it. When you have old organizations like Morgan Stanley, you've been able to have 25% of your trust in crypto. The consumers are not going to put up with you not having it available for them. The United States government has sold off crypto that they've collected. Yes, we had some years where there were frauds and those kinds of things, but if you look at that amount of fraud compared to the amount of fraud there is in the US dollars, it was minimal. So I don't see this train stopping.
My friend Darren, he uses this phrase all the time. He says, "We have smartphones, smart TVs. Why not have a smart wallet?" I think it's no longer optional. I think we have got to get ahead of this. And um, Kathy talked about, Switch Reward Card being an opportunity for you guys. I want to offer up to anyone that's listening, and then I'm going to ask Kathy a kind of a final question here. But if you are interested in like one, getting a little bit more educated on this, two, getting a smart wallet, and then maybe also like letting me know when you get it, I will gift you a little something that may be a similar story to what Kathy had when somebody gave her Bitcoin back in the day. I can't promise it, but I'm just saying. So if you're interested in getting your very own free smart wallet, go to kimgers.com/free wallet. By the way, when you do this, you will also get a Switch reward card account, which will afford you the opportunity to take advantage of that as well. And then if you decide you want to get a business account, you can apply for that as well through Switch Reward Card, which I have, by the way, done. So I definitely encourage you guys to do that. But I know, Kathy, that a lot of our listeners may be intimidated by crypto. Like this is a whole new space. We've been talking about the traditional financial market versus this whole new technology. What would you say to kind of reassure them that that they need to get? I'll just be very frank. Get their head out of the sand.
Well, I think when new technology comes along, all of us are stymied sometime. I can remember not wanting to use a microwave. I kept thinking something's wrong with that. How could it heat up the water that quickly? And I'm like, now I use it every day to make my tea or whatever. But I don't need to know all the details about how it works. I made some assumptions that this new world technology was for younger people, and I took a walk every day, not in the same city, with a gentleman that he was in Seattle, I was in Santa Fe, and we would walk in the morning to get our exercise in, talk on the phone, and I'd say, "I've got to go to work." And I think he was about 80 years old, and he said, "Tell me what you're doing." And I had not shared it with him because I thought he probably won't be interested. he said, "Oh, I want to participate." He bought 3 nodes at about $5,000 each and checks on it himself every day on Coin Market Cap. Ask me periodically how things are going. And he says, "No, I want to participate. That sounds fascinating." My sister, who is a few years younger than me, I said, "I'll give you a node. I'll give you one of my founders' nodes, whatever." She says, "Oh no, I'm buying my own. I want to participate. I want my rewards." And so I think you need to do your own research. We say that a lot. However, I would be resident to say I I would like to tell the world. Tell everybody. They joke about me that if I have a flat tire, the driver's going to have some switch or he's going to buy a node, because I do tell everybody whether or not you participate, you need to still understand how it works, understand what's going on in the world, and then make your decision. If you choose not to, that's one thing. But down the line, if I didn't tell you and something wonderful happens, I'd feel bad about that. So that's why I tell everybody there's not one sector of the demographics that I don't talk to. My youngest nephews have wallets, and they watch it and they're like, "Oh, can I come to work there someday? Can I become a dev or something of that sort?" So um, I would not underestimate the technology changes. Who would have thought we all would order everything online today versus going out to a retail store?
So, Kathy, do you remember? And I know, in fact, anybody that's listening or watching right now, I distinctly remember when Zappos came along. And of course now, or even when Amazon shifted from just being a bookseller, right, to all the things. But I remember Zappos in particular, and I'm like, there is no way women will order shoes online, sight unseen, without trying them on. No way. Not happening. I distinctly remember saying that is going to be a failed business model. It is not going to work. And we all do it now. Like all the
Yeah.
things, we order all the things online, sight unseen. Like when you go into a store and you feel the shirt, the quality of it, like it's soft or it's not. We don't seem to care about that anymore. Like, right. So we just do the thing. So my point is, I said it before, I feel like we're in the garage with Jeff Bezos right now, guys. We are on the front side of an evolution in technology that is moving fast. When I first started on the internet years and years ago, that took a while before the next evolution, which I think was probably social media. And now, it's been a time frame between that and this next thing. So this next thing, in my opinion, is a marriage between AI and blockchain. I think blockchain's probably moving faster even than AI, which is saying something. um, when I say that. So I definitely grab your free wallet, and
Yes.
we're start there. There is an academy in the back end of the behind this free wallet. You'll be able to start getting yourself educated, and I think the very next thing is deciding if you'd like to be financially a part of something. Not just something from a rewards perspective, but also something that's bigger than us, like disrupting industries, disrupting banking industries, disrupting food industry. I mean, we could go on, but it's like take the first step, get your free wallet, and start getting yourself educated at a higher level. That's what I did, which has been an amazing journey. And I think that's actually what Kathy did too. She's just well ahead of me in the curve. So, well, thank
Don't
you,
be
Kathy.
scared.
Yeah,
Don't be
don't be
scared.
scared. Well, you guys, put your hands together for Kathy.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. We appreciate you so much for being with us today. And I know that everybody's gotten a ton of value from everything you shared. So thank you so much. Thank all of you for being with us today. We know your time is valuable. When you spend some with us, we appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. God bless. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.